The Indians return home following an 11-game jaunt through the AL Central that ended on a high note. From here, each series taking on added importance now. And first up, 3 games with the Mariners, who currently sit in one of the 2 wild card spots in the American League. Pitching will be at a premium, and Trevor Bauer gets the call for the Tribe next on Sports Time Ohio. We're down to the last 3 days in the month of July, the trading deadline looming on the horizon, and the Seattle Mariners come a-calling here at Progressive Field. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Tribe gets back to work tonight after an off day yesterday, and Carlos Santana had a weekend to remember in Kansas City. Rick, he reached base safely 15 times in 20 plate appearances against the Royals.
You know, everybody has been waiting for Santana to get hot. He is not going to get any hotter than he is right now with the long ball, with the walks, with the doubles. He has been on fire from both sides of the plate, and he's been the man in the middle part of that lineup. And what a weekend he had in Kansas City in that 4-game series. But when you look at it, on that road trip, 6 home runs. That's most in the majors since the All-Star break. 13 ribbies. He just 15 for 27. It's fun to watch, and let's hope he can continue that hot spell.
Interesting matchup here tonight. The Indians have the 3rd best home winning percentage in the American League. The Mariners have the 3rd best road winning percentage in the AL. So it's the Indians and the Mariners. Tribe trying to get themselves right back in the thick of the AL wild card hunt, and they'll go hunting the Seattle Mariners, who can pitch well. Countdown to Splashdown coming up next. Is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. By Panini's. Get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. And we welcome you into Progressive Field on a cloudy evening in downtown Cleveland. Indians take the field behind Trevor Bauer, who will be on the hill tonight to face the Seattle Mariners. Seattle comes in 54 and 51, but they're a struggling ball club. They've lost 8 of their last 11. And the Indians come in 52 and 53. They know the feeling. They came off the road trip. They won the series finale in Kansas City. But before that, they were in dire straits, having lost the first 3 in that series to the Royals. So 2 teams trying to get it turned around here tonight. Let's take a look at the starting lineup that Trevor Bauer will face for Lloyd McClendon and the Seattle Mariners. It's brought to you by Toyota. Dustin Ackley will lead it off, followed by Chris Taylor. Robinson Cano in the 3-hole. Then it's Kenry Morales, Kyle Seager, and Mike Zunino. Logan Morrison, Corey Hart, and James Jones round it out.
Our GMC starting pitcher is Trevor Bauer. And Trevor making his 15th start this year. He's pitched very well. His last 6 starts, and they're 2-2 and a .335. 5 quality starts, and the Tribe's 4-1 in his last 6. And he's been very good at home this year. He's 3-1 with an ERA of .282. His 1 start against Seattle came back end of June out in Seattle, where he went 6 1/3, gave up 9 hits and 3 runs, and he lost to Chris Young. That ball game was a 3-2 ball game, so he's looking for a little revenge here. Let's check out the Kia defense behind Bauer tonight. It looks like this. It'll be Dickerson in left field, Brantley in center, Murphy in right, Chisenhall is back in there at third, Cabrera at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, Gomes behind the plate.
Larry Vanover is the crew chief. He'll call the balls and strikes. Vic Carapazza at first. Gabe Morales at second. Angel Hernandez down at third. Dustin Ackley is going to lead off tonight for Seattle. Tom Bochenek, our statistician, tells me it's the first leadoff start for Ackley. Mariners go with 6 left-handed bats in the lineup tonight. Lloyd McClendon's club very much in the thick of the wild card race. They're 11 games out of first in the AL West, trailing front-running Oakland. They're in third place behind the Angels, who are only a game and a half behind the A's out west.
Yeah, they're in the tough division this year. Oakland leading the way and the Angels right behind, but they've done a nice job trying to keep pace.
Fly ball to right field. David Murphy is back, and he's got it one away. Our keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For Trevor Bauer, set the tone on this 8-game homestand. And for the Indians offensively, against a very good starting pitcher, maximize those scoring chances.
Well, they're going to see 3 good starters in this series, 3 of the best Seattle has to offer. So, you know, the offense, you're going to have to score to beat this team. Hit 4. Not an easy thing to do against the good starters, though.
Well, that's for certain. Chris Taylor is getting the call up recently. He's gone 3 for 8. Lays off down low. Was called up on July 24th, so just 5 days ago. Made his major league debut that night. Former 5th-round pick out of Virginia just 2 years ago. Slashed down the right side. At 75 games with AAA Tacoma, he hit .328 this year. Yeah, the second best batting average in the Pacific Coast League.
Doesn't it seem like kids are starting to come up quicker and quicker now after they're drafted a year or two?
Oh, Taylor's hit. Got him on the wrist. I thought initially it got him on the batting helmet.
I did too. It sounded like it did. Maybe got a piece of the hand and the bat. I agree with you. That sounded like it.
And Taylor going to get checked out by the trainer.
Well, Bauer throws that fastball. It runs up and in. And, boy, yeah, it's got the hand that may have got a piece of that bat. It hit him in the hand first.
Yeah, he just turned out of the way in time before it might have hit him on the chin.
Boy, that was close. Very close. Seems to be okay.
He will take his base. And for Bauer, just the second batter that he has hit.
That's scary right there. See his face, he's got to get it out of the way, and he just barely does. That's about a couple of inches of hitting him right in the jaw.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
So Taylor aboard with one out for Robinson Cano. Cano has been exactly what the Seattle Mariners wanted. He has hit in 80 of the 100 games he has played. Half of those games have been multi-hit efforts. So he's been just what he has been throughout his career.
Minus the power in Yankee Stadium.
But that's not surprising, is it?
No, not in that ballpark that he's sitting in Seattle. You know, he's always been a good hitter. We always talk about the sweet swinger Robinson Cano, and he can go to left field, right field.
If it was 299 down the right field line at Safeco Field, he might have 20 home runs.
Well, exactly. You know what? The home run, nobody hits home runs consistently in Seattle. I mean, Adrian Beltre went there. He signed there as a free agent. He didn't do it. He leaves, and he's been a star ever since. So just a tough place to hit. But Cano is a great hitter.
1-1 pitch. Out of play to the left.
What he has maybe brought to this young lineup of the Mariners is maybe, you know, you make people a little bit better around you, and you can discuss it. You know, you've got Seager in that lineup, and, you know, some young hitters that really have to develop at the major league level. And becoming a run producer is not an easy thing to do.
Bauer's 1-2 pitch. The runner goes, and Cano hits it in the air to center field. Brantley drifting back. And he'll make the catch. 2 away.
Picked on a big curveball upstairs, and we've known this now that Bauer, it takes him a few innings to get rolling. He leaves that curveball. He never really seems to get a feel for it until about that third or fourth inning. But I'll tell you what, he continues to throw it. He tries to get it down. He works hard at it. But the command comes a little bit later.
Well, here's Kendry Morales, who the Indians just saw on their recent road trip when he was with Minnesota. Then the Twins, right after we left town, dealt him to Seattle.
Well, Seattle looking to spruce up their offense, too.
It's funny because that's where he was last year, and they let him go at the end of the season as a free agent, didn't re-sign him, and he sat out until, well, almost June, I believe, when the Twins ended up acquiring him or signing him.
He was right there with Drew of Boston, you know, one of the last guys to sign coming out of there.
Morales, Rick, at least in Minnesota, and look, hitters go through spells. He looked anxious, swinging a lot of early pitches and not necessarily good pitches in that series at Target Field.
Well, he was with the Mariners last year. He led them in RBIs. He could hit for power. He could, you know, he had a pretty good year there. They chose not to sign him as a free agent. But they're back with him again because he has a track record in that ballpark.
Signed with the Twins as a free agent on June the 8th. Popped him up. Bauer says he'll take it, but he's called off by Lonnie Chisenhall, and the inning is over. No runs, no hits, one man left. The Indians are coming to bat when we come back. No score, bottom of the first inning. And let's take a look at the Indians starting nine for Terry Francona, brought to you by Progressive. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot, followed by Asdrubal Cabrera. Then it's Michael Brantley hitting third. Carlos Santana, Lonnie Chisenhall, Nick Swisher in the middle. David Murphy seventh. Yan Gomes, not too shabby. He hit .432 on the road trip. Chris Dickerson will bat ninth.
And our GMC starting pitcher, Hisashi Iwakuma, makes the start. His 17th start this year. His record is 8-5, and this guy has impeccable control. He has walked 8 batters in 110 and 2/3 innings and 88 strikeouts. This guy is in July. He's had 5 starts. He's 3-1, 2.27 ERA, 33 strikeouts, no walks. I would definitely, if I'm a hitter, be ready to go from the very first pitch with this guy on the mound.
Ran it up high, and Kipnis swings through it. All right, let's go down and bring in Katie Witham right now, who has more on what the Indians are looking for when they face Iwakuma tonight.
Well, Matt, Terry Francona said today the Indians are well aware that he's yet to walk a batter in the last 5 straight starts. And he said the approach is pretty simple. If the best pitch you're going to see is the first one, then you better be ready for it. He said, the goal is always to work that pitch count. You don't want to look up in the 8th inning and see 45 pitches for Iwakuma. But sometimes there are exceptions to the rule, and he may be one of them.
Here is Asdrubal Cabrera now, batting .249 on the year. Goes after the first pitch, lifts it to left center. And James Jones, the center fielder, taking charge, out number 2.
Let's check that Mariners defense behind Iwakuma tonight. Ackley in left, Jones in center, Hart is in right, Seager at third, Taylor at short, Cano at second, Morrison at first, Zunino behind the plate. That defense is brought to you by Kia. And you know what? If you make a few outs on the first pitch, who cares? This guy's going to pound the strike zone. If you take the first 2, you'll look up and you're down 0-2, so it doesn't matter. Get ready for it. If you like it, get after it.
Here's Michael Brantley. And the ball in the dirt.
Iwakuma, a guy, when he has you down in the count, 0-2, opposition hitting .076. When you get up to 2-0, Brantley has that count right now, .367. So a big difference when you, as a hitter, are ahead in the count.
Upstairs with it.
And this is just the 3rd time all year long that this guy has had a 3-0 count out of 111 innings. Can you believe it? The 3rd time all year.
I guess it's no surprise that it's Michael Brantley, though. If you're going to be careful as a pitcher, even when you're not generally careful,
right,
this would be the guy you'd want to be.
Not surprising that he gets into the hitter's counts.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to say. Carlos Santana's been in a lot of hitters' counts this year. He's as patient as they come. But right now, he is on an offensive binge. 5 homers in the 3 consecutive games in which he has hit a home run. And now he'll face Iwakuma with a runner at first and 2 down.
Well, another thing that makes this matchup interesting is that Santana leads the league in walks, and Iwakuma doesn't walk anybody. So something's got to give.
Iwakuma went 36 1/3 innings between walks. roughly 4 complete games as a pitcher between free passes, and that's making them earn their way on.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Now the 1-1. Over the outside corner, a called strike. Santana in his 7-game hitting streak. He's putting up wiffle ball numbers. But you see, since June 6th, so almost 2 solid months now, he's batted over 314 dingers. That's the Carlos Santana that you know.
Well, he got off to such a rough start this year for 2 months. And then his last 2 have been very good. He has a batting average of .232, but you don't look at that now. The production starting to come, driving in the runs and hitting the home run and driving in runs.
The 1-2. And a base hit. He beats the shift. That's how hot Santana is right now. Not many hitters beat the shift nowadays, but Carlos just did. Not when you hit into it. Sometimes when you beat the shift, it's a little flare the other way where nobody's playing.
Right. He had 2 strikes. Watch him. He's just locked in. He goes down. That pitch was a ball. You see where the catcher was going to go back at it, Zunino, and they had just put Seager over there with 2 strikes and moved the short stop back to the other side of the field, and it didn't matter. Santana still finds a hole to get a base hit.
So 2 on, 2 out. Lonnie Chisenhall the batter. And Chisenhall taking a called strike. Lonnie Chisenhall trying to get the Indians on the board first here tonight. What a huge boost that might be if they could strike first here. Lonnie's batting .338 on the year with a runner in scoring position. Hits that one off the plate. Backing up is Morrison. The flip. And Iwakuma barely beats Chisenhall to the bag to end the inning. No runs a hit, 2 men left, no score after 1. Indians baseball is brought to you by your Northern Ohio Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. No score, second inning. For Seattle, Kyle Seager, Mike Zunino, and Logan Morrison will bat against Trevor Bauer, who hit a batter in the first inning, and that's the first hit batter by an Indians pitcher since back in July the 11th, when Corey Kluber hit a batter in a game against Chicago. So it's
been a while.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. And that's one thing you got to do to hitters. Certain times when you get into ball games, you got to make them move their feet every once in a while and pitch inside.
Upstairs to Kyle Seager. I mentioned it before. Maybe no one has benefited more than Kyle Seager from the addition of Robinson Cano, because he's having a whale of a season. And whether it's getting better pitches to hit, just watching, talking, he's having a whale of a season. Not that this came out of nowhere. I mean, the Mariners knew he was a good player. But he's been public enemy number 2 for teams facing Seattle.
Yeah, he's number 1 when it comes to the Indians. Career .419 hitter with 7 doubles, 2 homers, 4 ribbies. That's at 10 games in this ballpark. Remember, he came in his first year and just tore it up. But a .398 hitter overall. And they finally get him out.
Kipnis from the outfield grass retires Seager 1 away. Time now for our Hear Right Audiology sounds of the game. Here's Indians pitcher Corey Kluber on the current state of affairs for the Tribe.
I think obviously try to win every day when we come to the park, but I think, we're probably getting to the point where we need to have a little bit more sense of urgency. The road trip started out well, and then we kind of scuffled towards the middle and the end of it, but I think we just need to put that behind us and kind of approach each day as a new day.
No question about that. I mean, it is the old saying, old as there is, you can't cry over spilled milk. You can't go back and change what's happened. What's done is done. They didn't play well on the road trip after they started off so well, but you have to put it behind you.
Absolutely.
And get back to work.
And they play well at home. They got to really, we're home for 8 games. They have got to have a great homestand.
Ripped to left field by Zunino. Dickerson can't cut it off, and he'll go into second base with a 1-out double. That ball was scorched pretty well.
Well, he's got a little sock in his bat. I'll tell you, it jumps off. He's got 15 home runs for the Mariners this year. And there's another breaking ball that Trevor Bauer left upstairs, and he took advantage of it. And Dickerson thought he was going to catch up. It was just hit too hard. If you're playing Little League, that's a home run because the wall won't be able to stop it. But he goes into second base with his 16th double.
And a runner in scoring position for Logan Morrison. Logan Morrison is mired in some kind of slump. In his last 16 games, he has gone 6 for 60.
Ouch. Well, you had mentioned it off the top. Seattle's been a better road team than home. They're 28-20 on the road because they hit better when they're on the road. With runners in scoring position, they're hitting .270 on the road compared to .245 at home. They score a run more a game on the road.
You think it's psychological, or are they just hitting more home runs because they're on the road?
Well, I'll tell you what. That ballpark, for some reason, is strange. You see a few players, that can hit at that ballpark. They hit better on the road than they do at home. I don't know if it's in their heads or not.
It's always been a big park. It's always played big.
Seattle has homered 49 times at home and only 33 on the road. So it's not the long ball.
Interesting. 49 at home, 33 on the road.
Yeah. So it is not the long ball. It's
or it could be, as we say, just one of those years.
Their pitchers are so good there, they feel like they don't have to score. I don't know what it is. It's just a tough place to hit in.
We could get really deep on this. Maybe, and this is getting out there a little bit, but maybe as an opposing pitcher, you go into Seattle and you have enormous confidence because you know you've got space, so maybe you're not trying to finely pitch and you just relax. So maybe opposing pitchers are just a little more relaxed, more confident there.
Could be. They like to. How many players do you talk to that always say, "Oh, I like Seattle. I like to go to Seattle. Nice ballpark." Well, I'm sure pitchers are saying that.
1-2 in the dirt, nicely blocked by Yan Gomes, and that'll even the count at 2-2.
You know, unless you're with a team, Matt, every day, you really don't know what it could be. You know, you can speculate and see that. I mean, we know what it is with the Indians between home and road. They play with a different swagger.
No doubt about that.
You know, and their offense is better at home than it is on the road. There's no doubt about that. You know, with Seattle, if you had an opportunity to watch them play every day, they're playing very well. 8 games over on the road. That's hard to do. But their good pitching carries them anywhere.
Might have dented the camera.
They have the league's best ERA. They moved ahead of Oakland. They're second in the league in starting pitching as far as Seattle goes, and first in bullpen. So, I mean, their bullpen. You got to play a 6-inning game with this team. You've got to try and get the lead. And you don't want to fall behind because their bullpen can hold it. It can be shut down.
Bauer's 2-2. Hit well. Deep right. Murphy back, and he'll make the catch. Zunino will tag and go to third, but there are 2 down in the inning. Well, let's take a look at the splits, Rick, home and road for the Mariners. You see the records. Look at the batting average. Big spike up, almost 20 points.
The earned run average is identical, but there's the run more per game on that road, and that run to this team makes a huge difference. The batting average I don't care about, but the runners in scoring position you care about, and the runs per game you care about for that, because their pitching is the same no matter where they go.
Corey Hart, big bat formerly of the Milwaukee Brewers.
He was hurt when we were in Seattle. He didn't really play in that series. But he's back. Another guy they signed, figuring, look, we could use a little more pop in this ballpark. But you can see what his numbers are this year.
The 0-1 down in the dirt.
You know, you come from a ballpark like Milwaukee. That's a great place to hit.
Yeah.
You know, and go to Seattle. Could be a little demoralizing.
Yeah, he's probably hit some balls where that used to be a home run where I come from.
No doubt.
Corey Hart might be the biggest position player the Mariners have had since Richie Sexson, 6'6".
Yeah.
Got that tall, lanky look that Sexson once had when he started here with the Indians and then went out to Seattle and became a real
they
power
wish he
hitter.
would hit as many home runs as Richie did.
Now the 1-2. Popped in the air. Santana. Foul ground. Makes the catch. Inning over. No runs to hit. 1 man left. No score. Middle of the second. No score, bottom of the second inning. For the Indians, Nick Swisher, David Murphy, and Yan Gomes due up here. Coming off the off day yesterday, Nick Swisher had a big charity event here at the ballpark last night, Mission Swisher, and talked to him today and said it went very well. Everybody had a great time. And basically, they split up into teams, and each team had one of the ball players as a celebrity guide, and they went all over the ballpark looking for clues. And ultimately, the goal was to try and find the treasure, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, if it were. And Mike Aviles won, but I'm understanding there might have been some chicanery involved.
I can believe that with Mike.
You were supposed to use a key to open a lockbox to find the final piece of the puzzle, and they said Mike didn't use his key. He just broke the lockbox open.
Well, it was close enough. He got to the lockbox.
Right. But Swish said everybody had a great time, and he and his wife Joanna were the hosts for the event. And
nice deal.
Yeah, well done.
Good for them.
Iwakuma with a 2-1. Swing and a miss to even it up. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And he strikes him out. 1 away. Second strikeout for Iwakuma. And it will bring up David Murphy. Don't forget, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have your photo shown during one of our telecasts this year. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Now Iwakuma rocks into that windup. A little pause at the top, fires a strike.
As you know, most of the Japanese pitchers have that little hesitation, that separates them. And all of a sudden they come at you, and this guy, impeccable control.
Well, Tapper back to the mound. He fields his position well, fires it over, 2 down. And speaking of the Japanese pitchers, you may or may not have noticed. If you have noticed, you may wonder, why is it that most, if not all, Japanese pitchers wear the number 18? Iwakuma wears it, and a lot of guys have. The reason being, if you go back to Japanese baseball, which is very tradition-oriented, the ace of the pitching staff always gets number 18. You can't ask for it in Japan. It has to be given to you.
Given to you? Okay. So you have to be the ace then to get it.
Yeah, most, if not all, pitchers come to the States will ask for number 18. Most
I wonder
get
who
it.
wore 18 the first time. Maybe the best pitcher ever over there?
Yeah, and the name escapes me. But whoever it was, he started out wearing number 21, and then he switched to 18, and they think that was maybe the genesis of it, and it's kind of been that way ever since. But we just recently played the Yankees, and Tanaka wears number 19. And the reason for that is that Hiroki Kuroda has more seniority. He's already there, and he has 18. And Tanaka wasn't going to try to big league him.
Tanaka's going to get that jersey. He'll get 18 as soon as...
Once Kuroda moves on, baby. 1, 2, 3 go the Indians. And after 2, no score in Cleveland.
with MLB.com at bat. On your favorite mobile phone or tablet, you get live look-ins, instant replay, audio scores, the free MLB TV game of the day, and more. You can download on the App Store or just visit Indians.com.
All right, for Seattle here in the third, James Jones, Dustin Ackley, and Chris Taylor due up.
Jones is a guy who we saw up in the lineup earlier when we were out there in June, but down because he had a horrible homestand. Only got a couple hits and 27 at bats.
Yeah, we talked about Morrison's 6 for 60. A 2 for 27 will knock you out of that leadoff spot as well.
Well, they would like to keep him up there because this guy can run a little bit. He has 20 stolen bases, only been caught one time.
But he's a young guy, you know, especially in terms of experience. He just made his debut back in April of this year.
Right.
Down low.
Yeah, you get used to seeing, and they're in that division where they see some pretty good pitching over there in Seattle when you have to face the Angels and the Oakland A's all the time in your division. Oh, and by the way, then you get to face Darvish.
I was going to say, you're going to see Darvish out of play. Seattle, when it comes to Western Division opponents, they've held their own, going 27 and 23. Interesting in that both Oakland and LA, the top teams in the division, they're just slightly better at 26 and 19 each. And that ball's popped out of play.
Well, if you think about it, you remember last year there was a great 4-game series for the Indians when the Mariners came to town. They're on a 6-game losing streak in Cleveland. You remember they haven't won here since September 19th, 2011. And with the Indians' 4-game sweep last year, 3 of the 4 were walk-offs.
That was a crazy series. Yeah.
And Seattle had a chance to win every game in that series, and
very
ended up
well could have
walking away without a win.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I mean, it's one thing when you go into a series and you just get your doors blown off, but at least you can kind of walk away saying, you know what?
We stunk.
They're better.
Yeah.
Either we stunk or they're just flat out better.
We didn't play good.
But when you leave a series, whether you're swept or you lose 3 out of 4 and you had a chance to win every game, those are the ones that I think stay with you for a while.
You leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Swing and a miss. Jones strikes out. First K for Bauer tonight. 1 down here in the third. This was the series finale as Yan Gomes put an end to the game. And if I remember right, that's the game where if Wilhelmsen catches the ball at first base, it's over.
Yeah.
It was a little flip, if I remember right, if that's the game.
Yeah, 3-1. He dropped the ball.
He was covering first.
They had a couple of errors in that series that ended up costing him a game.
Yeah. And Gomes made him pay. And the Indians could use a turn of good fortune, and maybe some home cooking is just the trick.
Lloyd McClellan was not part of that, so he doesn't know anything about it, nor I'm sure he doesn't want to hear anything about it.
Well, Dustin Ackley pulls one through the right side of the infield. Second hit of the night for the Mariners. Well, let's go back and revisit it. He couldn't get the ball out of his glove on that play. Here's the drop.
That's the one.
That was the killer.
Furbush, boom, another one just dropped. Called him out. Guess what? Home run, game over. That hurt. That hurt the Mariners.
Yeah. They had to walk away from that one feeling like they just gave it to him.
Well, they did. That's exactly how you feel. I mean, we did. We just gave it to you. And we know you make errors, you pay. You give extra outs in this game, you pay.
Boy, and especially in the ninth.
I don't know if Wilhelmsen was ever the same after that because he was pitching really good.
Yeah, he was.
Coming into that series. And I'll tell you, he's no longer their closer.
He's done a nice job in setup, though. 2.34 ERA.
You bring that arm into the 7th inning, that always plays well.
Out goes Kipnis. In comes Murphy. 2 down. Here's our great clip of the game from Sunday, and Danny Salazar went out and gave the Indians exactly what they needed. Very good starting performance. He kept the Royals at bay for the most part, and the offense took off finally.
Yeah, it was good to see Danny. He won 2 games on the road. He got his first road win in the big leagues at Minnesota. 5 innings, but then he upped it. He went 7 innings. That's what you want to see. And the thing I like, the no walks, 7 punch outs, very good.
No free passes.
You know, he was behind in that ball game early, and he kept it close, and then the offense came on. Or Santana came on.
Salazar's next start due to be Saturday against the Texas Rangers. Runner at first, 2 down. And Cano trying to bloop one in.
It's going to fall.
And it will get in. A 2-out bloop single.
Well, not much you could do there. He made a good pitch. Cano, being the hitter that he is, just found a way to get it in front of the outfielder. So that'll keep it rolling. Looked like it got in on him, huh?
Well,
Sure
and
did.
the way Cano's going this year, that's not bad if you're Trevor Bauer.
Well, yeah, he made a good pitch. He placed it perfectly.
Now he's got to attack Henry Morales, who is 1 for 11 since joining Seattle. Mariners a little bit like the Indians. They're slow starters. They've outscored the opposition by 49 runs from the 4th inning on. But in the first 3 innings, they're at +2.
Well, 2 is about all they've been scoring in the last 20 games. 13 times, 2 runs or less.
One ball, 1 strike. Speaking of 2, the Detroit Tigers have put 2 on the board early at home against the White Sox. 2-0 Tigers in the 3rd. Elevated the fastball, led her high, and Morales no match. 1-2 the count.
Check out this pitch on our Nissan pitch tracker. Let her high. Not going to catch up to it. Looks awfully good. But you mentioned he's been really aggressive as a hitter because he's playing catch up. He's got to cheat to catch up to the fastball. He didn't have a spring training. He never signed until the first week of June.
That makes sense. Oh, he waves at it, and Bauer strikes him out.
Schooled him.
Bauer fans a pair here in the 3rd, and the Mariners leave 2 stranded. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Chris Dickerson, Jason Kipnis, and Asdrubal Cabrera due for the Indians. Downstairs. At the knees, a strike. And a foul right back.
You can see how the hitters, that was a good take on the changeup or pitch down. And he likes to change speeds. Changes the eye levels very well.
Just missed low. And I mean just missed.
Well, you'll see it down and in. And they're sitting inside. Oh, my goodness. That's he catches a break. Dickerson does. That looked good to me.
The payoff pitch. Hit hard into right field. A base hit for Dickerson. Hart will cut it off. And the Indians have their second hit and their leadoff man aboard for the first time.
You call that a good at bat because he did take that pitch inside. Now he's not going to walk him. He throws him a pitch down the middle, and Dickerson takes advantage of it. So he gets the base hit, the leadoff base hit now. First time tonight the Indians have had their leadoff man aboard.
Jason Kipnis struck out his first time up, but he looks at the ball. And now Kip awaits the 1-0 offering from Iwakuma, and it's out of play. Kipnis went 1 for 13 in the series against Kansas City. And a bouncer to second. Cano to Taylor. And back to first for a double play.
Well, it'll be another Sugardale Dollar Dog Night Friday when the Indians take on the Texas Rangers, who will be in town. And then also there will be a post-game fireworks. Wayside Furniture will sponsor it. It'll be set to the hits of 1994. Just visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Asdrubal Cabrera fly to center his first time up. Oh, and Cabrera didn't like that call. 0-2. He thought it was high, but Iwakuma, he's all over the strike zone here in the early going.
Well, you see, that's the comeback fastball he threw over to Dickerson that got the base hit. He didn't get the call. Now maybe Vanover's getting an idea that he brings the ball back to the left-handers. It could have been maybe a little high.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the top of the zone, that's very well could have.
Well, he is a quick out here in the third. And it's still scoreless as we head to the fourth.
Well, check out 4321, one of the best deals at the ballpark. Fans can take advantage of $4 12-ounce beers, $3 hot dogs, $2 pop refills. Visit Indians.com, get your tickets.
All right, Kyle Seager, Mike Zunino, Logan Morrison due for the Mariners here in the fourth. And a fastball. Well, at least Trevor Bauer's getting the same call. That was the same spot. I think the Iwakuma fastball to Cabrera was.
That's all you can ask is consistency. Both sides of the ball. For-year pitcher, even though the hitters may not. Oh, look at that. They just moved the shift, and he's got himself a base hit. Well done.
Mariners get their leadoff man aboard here in the fourth.
This guy's been so good. That's the smart, though. I mean, he's leading off the inning. After they got strike one, they moved, and guess what? See how easy a base hit is in the major leagues? When you have the shift on, if that's what you want to do. That's a gimme. And Seager took it. That's leading off the inning, though, so that's smart.
When Andy Van Slyke played in Pittsburgh, if he'd have done that, it might have been a double or a triple on that old AstroTurf. The Mariners' first base coach. He was a terrific hitter in his day, and he had good speed, too. And he was flanked at one time by Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla.
Right.
He had good hitters around him, but he was a terrific athlete. Came up with the Cardinals originally. St. Louis always had a good eye for talent.
He was coaching in Detroit there for a couple of years before he left, and now he's out in Seattle.
Now his son Scott is with the Dodgers. We saw him go deep against the Indians. Oh, my goodness. Bauers hit a second batter of the game.
Did you see Zunino just take it in the shoulder and turn it? That's the catcher in you right there. He just turned, took off his little protective gear, and moves down to first base.
Bauer had hit one batter in 84 2/3 innings this year, and now he's hit two tonight.
Yeah, he's trying to go inside to the right-handers, and you see he just takes it into the shoulder. Watch, takes off the protection and just moves on. So that's the second time a right-hander's been up and in on him.
Well, the first two aboard for Seattle now. And Logan Morrison, who flied to right his first time up. Well, he chased one up high.
I remember we were out in Seattle. They had just called Morrison up, who was just, remember, he had that stint down in the minor leagues, worked on his hitting, tried to get him going. They felt that he was ready. He needed a extended period down there to get a feel for the baseball. But Morrison, again, he's right around the 200 mark, so it hasn't paid off.
That one sailed almost to the backstop. Gomes came up, made the stab, and says, "Whoa, big fella."
Well, they're usually off Trevor Bauer. He gets better as the game goes on. The first time through the lineups, teams usually hit 301 off him. He was 1 for 8.
With a hit
1
batter.
for 8. Now this second time it goes down to 277, but they're already 3 for 4 or 3 for 5. Second time through.
Bauer's in a bit of a jam here in the fourth. Jam job right to the second baseman, Kipnis, and that is out number 1.
I tell you, he's always had a knack. Trevor Bauer has of bending, but not breaking. You know, he may give up one or something, but he finds a way to work out of it. He has guts, this kid.
Injury report brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk. For the most part, Seattle's a pretty healthy bunch. Willie Bloomquist, a great utility player, can fill in all over the diamond. He's on the DL, as is Michael Saunders, an athletic outfielder. Well, Corey Hart steps in with 2 on and 1 out now. Bounced it in front of the plate. Yeah, I was thinking back when I talked before about Corey Hart reminding me of Richie Sexson when he played in Seattle. Funny, Hart came from Milwaukee, which is where Sexson originally went from Cleveland, and that was the big trade that sent Sexson to Milwaukee and netted the Indians Bob Wickman. And at the time, I believe it was Jason Bray and Steve Woodard. And
good memory.
Two on, 1 out, 2-0 pitch. Hit hard and fair. Down the line it goes, and the Mariners take the lead. Seager will come around third and score. Into third is Zunino. And Corey Hart with an RBI double. His 20th run batted in on the year. Seattle leads 1-0.
Well, there's a veteran hitter right there picking on a 2-0 pitch. You know, he's looking for the fastball. He gets it. Watch how quick he is, and he drills it right down the line. It's a high fastball by Bauer, and Hart is able to get up on top of it. Keeps it fair. He will get his 20th RBI. Seattle will play from in front. That is his 8th double. Still only 1 out, so another opportunity to add on.
Well, and Seager started the inning by just taking advantage of the shift and bunting it to the third base side, and he comes around to score. And then Zunino, who was hit by a pitch, is at third. And Jones takes a breaking ball for a strike.
This is a rare umpire where you're going to see high strikes called all night long, because he is the crew chief, and that's, you know what, I have no problem with that. Hitters normally take that pitch that's around the belt. But if tonight it's going to be called, that's a great pitch. That's what you're looking for as a hitter right now. Instead of swinging at something like that with a man on third base, wouldn't you want one up about letter high to try and hit one in the air?
You would think you could at least get the ball in the air. That's what I was thinking. You're looking for something to elevate in this situation.
Yeah.
Now, Rick, there's got to be a fine line between an elevated pitch you can drive and a
one
pitch
you swing
that's
through.
too elevated, you're popping straight up.
If you're looking up there, you could, there's nothing wrong with it. You can get it in the air. No, that's too far up. Don't swing at that one.
Grab a stepladder.
And sometimes it may be you may think you can get on it, and it's just high enough where you may pop it up to the infield. You'll hit it in the air. But as a hitter, that's what you look for, something you can put in the air and try and get that guy in from third.
Curveball missing up high, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, if he throws that one for a strike, I think he has him. And I think he knows it.
He struck out Jones his first time up. And that fouled back. There you look at the Mariner base runners as Bauer tries to keep the damage at a minimum now with only one run in.
Well, he's going for a punch out. He's got the right guy up. He's been in a little bit of a slump. He struck him out the first at bat. He's going for a strikeout here.
Got him to chase one in the dirt. Gomes will fire it to first, and their other runners have to hold. 2 down, third strikeout for Bauer.
Well done. He got him to swing at 2 pitches out of the strike zone and down. Bounced in front of the dirt, so Gomes took a quick peek back. Zunino was on third, the catcher, so he's not going anywhere. Gomes a nice job of keeping it around the vicinity on the block. So he will throw it down to retire Jones, and that's 2 outs.
I was thinking if you were a fast runner at third, you could almost
come
maybe
all the way
bluff.
down the line.
Yeah, at least get him to think about
Sure
it. And if he
could.
takes too long, Jones could maybe beat it out. But Zunino, a catcher, he's got to stay a little closer to the bag. Hit hard. Deep right. Murphy back. Look out. Going off the top of the wall. 2 will score, and AT CLE is into second base with a 2-out, 2-run double. Just missed a 3-run homer.
Yeah, that's still a big hit, boy. He wasted no time. He jumped on that first pitch, and I mean, he drilled it deep to right field, and it just misses. That's another high fastball. Watch where Gomes' glove. You see his head turn. The look on Gomes was, oh man, that just missed by about a foot. Well, that's a 2-run double. The look on Gomes' face was precious after he knew that ball was going to be hit. He thought it was out of the ballpark. Indians lucky it stayed in. It saved him a run.
But the Mariners have put a crooked number on the board now. And Chris Taylor takes ball 1. That's hit well to left, but back is Dickerson on the track. He leaps at the wall but can't get it. Scoring is AT CLE. Taylor around second holds with an RBI double. And back-to-back 2-out doubles by the Mariners have made it a 4-0 Seattle lead.
Yeah, they have 3 doubles in the inning. So a couple of big 2-out base hits, and that's something that Trevor Bauer has been able to really do this year, is work his way out of innings. This inning, he has not been able to do it. They've hit a couple of balls off the wall, so they've taken advantage of him. And I think if you look at it, the pitches are upstairs. So 3 doubles in the inning, 4 doubles on the night. And it's a big inning for Seattle right now. It's a 4-0 ball game. Mickey Callaway has to come out and try and settle him down here.
Now, again, he gave up the RBI double to Hart. But then he struck out Jones. He had 2 down in the inning. Trying to get out of it with just allowing the 1 run. But AT CLE almost hit it out of here to right field. And Taylor hits it off the wall in left field. And now Nick Hagedorn getting loose in the bullpen as the 8th man to bat in the inning is Robinson Cano.
They're just going to put him on.
It looks that will be the case, yeah.
This is the 30th intentional walk for the Indians this year, which leads the league. Next closest, the Texas Rangers have 24, so do the Seattle Mariners.
So there's the intentional walk. We'll take a timeout for a Mazda game break. Back to the studios. Here's Al Pulowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick, let's head to Motown where the White Sox taking on the Tigers. Detroit with a couple of runs here in the bottom of the second. J.D. Martinez, a triple. That got the first run home. Detroit added another. They're up 2-0 now in the 4th inning behind Anibal Sanchez. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. Popped up foul, out of play. Morales 0 for 2 and going after the first pitch. But he popped it out of play, and Bauer over 25 pitches now in the inning. Well, when they bat around, you expect that. Fastball took off, 1-1. Bauer deals, and Morales chops it toward second. Kipnis will throw him out. The Indians have their work cut out for them now. Seattle sends 9 to the plate. They score 4, and they have the lead. On to FoxSportsOhio.com while you're watching the game for a second screen experience. You can chat about tonight's game with Joe Reedy and keep up with everything Indians. Home half of the fourth, Brantley, Santana, and Chisenhall due up. So let's get an idea of what the Indians have ahead of them, though. They're down 4. On the year, Iwakuma has given up 4 or more 6 times, including his last time out when he surrendered 4 runs in 7 innings of work against Baltimore. He's never allowed more than 5 runs this year. That's happened 3 times, twice in the month of June, once in April.
Okay, so you're saying they have their work cut out for him now. In 13 straight road starts, he's 8-0.
Nice play and left by Ackley for out number 1. Yeah, I was gonna not bring that up, but
well, you got to show the whole picture. I understand that.
13 consecutive road starts without a loss. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. 8-0. That's taking it on the road with you. That's why their road record's so good. This guy goes out there, and then you got the guy that the Indians are going to face tomorrow, Hernandez. He's good no matter where he pitches. But yes, they have their work cut out for them. They've got a lot of work to do. But the one thing that I don't like, this guy doesn't walk many people, and he won't get an inning started by giving you base runners. You're going to have to hit your way on with this guy.
Yeah, he walked a batter in the first inning that snapped a streak of over 36 innings without allowing a walk, but it came with 2 outs. Not that there's ever a good time to walk somebody, but at least when you do it with 2 outs, you've got a better chance to get out of it without allowing it to mushroom into a big inning.
Well, that was Michael Brantley, and it was only the 3rd time this year that Iwakuma had a 3-0 count on any hitter.
Santana takes a strike. He had a base hit his first time up. And now with a 1-2 count, the Mariners go to the shift, and Seager, the third baseman, goes over to the second base side of the bag, and they take the second baseman. No,
that's the shortstop.
Yeah, they switch positions. That's weird.
Yeah, with 2 strikes. I'm thinking, what do they want, Seager to, in case somebody bunts it, they want him to pick it up that way? I don't understand it either.
There's Taylor, who
He was
on the second base side.
Up until 2 strikes. And then with 2 strikes, he goes back to his position at short.
The 1-2. I think your point is probably a valid one. They probably figure, all right, we're going to keep our third baseman over there till he gets to 2 strikes. In case they bunt, we want our third baseman over there to field that play. And then the 2 strikes, they send him over.
Well, at least it sounds good. I don't know if that works.
Santana pulling it foul. Carlos Santana, if you missed it, the American League Player of the Week. He finished the road trip 17 hits, 13 runs batted in, 9 runs scored, 9 walks, 4 doubles, 6 homers.
Yeah, that's like a Little League week. Yeah. I mean, it's fun when you watch hitters that get into, cycles like he's in right now, and it seems like just everything he's hitting is hard. He's walking. He's doing everything he can possibly do.
Well, it was good to see him get a hit his first time up because he's hitting 100 points lower at home this year than he is on the road. 277 on the road, 178 at home. Strange.
Yeah, it really is. And he hit a really good pitch for Iwakuma for the base hit between Seager and Cano, even though they are shifting him on the right side.
The 2-2 fouled on the left side. If the disparity in batting average doesn't. Oh my, the usher Didn't see it coming. Actually, I think that was a concession error. Two. Hit on the ground. 2 down. Well, since the All-Star break, Carlos Santana has been a red-hot hitter, and with more on that, here's Katie Whitman.
Well, Matt, finally, everything that Carlos Santana and hitting coach Ty Van Berkelio have been working on are finally being put together and put to use. You'll notice a smaller leg kick. He's getting started a little bit earlier, which means he's on time now with his swing, and he's also shortened up that swing, and we've seen the difference.
Well, speaking of the difference, I was about to say before the foul ball that Santana hit, if the disparity in batting average home and road doesn't jump out, how about this? On the road, 37 runs batted in. At home, 13.
Yeah, huge difference.
And again, sometimes those are hard to figure out. And there is no real reason. It just sort of happens that way. But hopefully for Santana, he's swinging the bat better, and that'll carry over here at home. Lonnie Chisenhall bounced out his first time up. Isashi Iwakuma trying for a 1-2-3-4 right after the Mariners put 4 on the board, and he accomplishes the mission. 4 complete. Seattle 4, Cleveland nothing. Sunnyside Honda at I-71 and Pearl Road in Middleburg Heights. By Levin Furniture. For the best deals on furniture and mattresses, shop Levin's. And by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. Four 4-0 Seattle. And we go down to the 5th inning. Kyle Seager, Mike Zunino, and Logan Morrison.
This is the guy that got it going with the gimme base hit.
Funny, this time no shift.
Yeah, not now.
Not any kind of a shift.
That was after 1 strike, right? Then they moved.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just pushed it down there. Got the inning going. How quickly that can change. Where were we? Santana did it on the road. Oh, it was in Minnesota. Took that bunt base hit, and then the second time he came up, and I saw the bench saying, "Who cares? Give it to him."
Let him do it.
And then he hit the second one after he hit the home run. The second one off the wall.
Seager pops up, 1 away. Well, our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. And it was Corey Hart with a 2-0 pitch, an RBI double down the left field line. Mariners got on the board. Then Dustin Ackley drove in 2, just missed a home run. But it didn't matter because Chris Taylor would bring him home with an RBI double. And that is it so far. Hit hard and deep to left, and got to be gone.
Yes, it is.
You can hear it hit the iron atop the fence in deep left field. And it's 5-0 Seattle as Zunino has hit his 16th home run of the year.
This kid is strong. And I got to tell you, both the guys that Bauer hit in this game, Taylor was the first one, doubled off the wall in left field in the last inning. And now Zunino, who was hit last inning, he homers on a vicious line drive. This is a high fastball. That ball gets out in a hurry. That makes it a 5-0 ball game. For Zunino, his 16th home run.
Well, they're going to go and take a second look at it.
Well, they can, but it hit the railing.
Angel Hernandez, who had the call on your right, the crew chief Larry Vanover on your left. It was Angel Hernandez a year ago involved in a similar snafu right here at Progressive Field
with Oakland.
You almost wonder if that wasn't the flashpoint for the argument. More instant replay and maybe a change in the way they do things. Remember, at that time, it was Hernandez who had to go back underneath the ballpark and look on a monitor himself and make the judgment. Now, it goes back to New York. You've got a guy with multiple camera angles, multiple replay looks, and he's making a call independent of the umpires here on the field.
I think it hit the railing anyway to begin with, to be honest with you. I mean, it was above the yellow line, and that railing's in place. I mean, it's out of play. It's a homer. So that's no question. That's a homer. Take another look at this ball. It's a line drive, and I mean, it is getting out of here in a hurry, and it hits the railing over the fence. And then it bounces up, and somebody catches it. There it goes straight up, and then there's a fan that's going to grab it. Oh, yeah, that's a souvenir. And Trevor Bauer's night is over. Terry Francona going to make a pitching change. Look like Nick Hagedorn coming in.
Today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. Left-hander Nick Hagedorn coming on when we come back. So Seattle has a 5-0 lead, and the Indians have to go to their bullpen already here in just the 5th inning. Kind of a bit of a stunning turn of events, the way Trevor Bauer has pitched this year and of late. But the Mariners
They knocked him around in the fourth, and they knock him out here in the fifth.
Yeah, and he's normally pitched very well in this ballpark, but he left the ball up in the strike zone, and Seattle hitters really took advantage of it. 5 out of the 8 hits have been extra base hits, the 4 doubles, a home run. And now it's Nick Hagedorn's turn to come out of the bullpen.
And Hagedorn in with the first pitch strike to Logan Morrison.
Another thing for those Mariners, too, 6 of the 8 hits against Bauer came early in the count. 1 came off the first pitch, but 5 came off the second, so they were getting aggressive off him, and he wasn't locating.
Morrison quickly behind, 0-2. Hagedorn, who grew up outside of Seattle, has always pitched well, I think, against his former club. Remember, he had a couple of appearances, I believe, when we were out in Seattle earlier this year and pitched well there. Breaking ball, and Morrison lays off. Tough night for Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, that is a rough night for him. Wanted to get this homestand started off on the right foot. And disappointing night for him.
Strike 3 called. 2 down in the inning. In the air, right field. Murphy settles under it. And Hagedorn retires the 2 Mariners hitters that he faces. But Mike Zunino goes deep off Trevor Bauer. And Seattle's lead is now 5-0. Bottom of the 5th inning. And for the Indians, Nick Swisher, David Murphy, Yan Gomes coming up. Swisher struck out his first time up back in the 2nd.
And he takes the pitch down low for ball one. He drives one deep left center field. Ackley back. He won't get it, and it's off the top of the wall. Backed up by Jones. Swisher into second base with a leadoff double. Largest lead the Mariners have given up this year is 3 runs. It's happened 3 different times. But it tells you the Indians have definitely got a big job ahead of them if they're going to try to do something no one else has done to the Mariners this year.
Yeah, and the game's shortening up on them, but still, you've got your leadoff man aboard. There's a double. Let's go. Now's the time to start. You don't have to do it all at once. I like that swing from Swisher going to left center field. Boy, when he puts that swing on the ball, Matt, he gets good carry on the baseball to left center field. His 19th double. It's just that you would hope he could find a more consistent way to do that.
Pitch to David Murphy up high for ball one.
Yeah, this is the case in point now, bottom of the 5th inning, where the Indians are going to have to try and score and get a couple at a time, but they have to throw zeros on the board from here on out. And that bullpen's going to do it, but we've seen them do it before as far as the Indians go.
Pitch outside, 2-0. Mentioned before, Nick Swisher had his big charity event last night, and I wanted to thank you helping out on my charity golf tournament yesterday down in Ashland, Ohio.
All went well.
You, Al Pulaski, Jensen Lewis, Jimmy Hanlon, Bruce Drennan, Ashley Collins, Tom Hamilton, Jim Rosenhaus. Great support. Everybody had a great time. Raised a lot of good money for charity.
Go foul.
Oh, that hit the lip of the grass.
Yeah.
And almost kicked back fair, but stays foul. 2-1 for Murphy.
Send out our...
Watch this hit the lip right there, and Murphy on the year has hit .259 here at home. In his career, he's a .294 hitter at Progressive Field. But as I mentioned earlier, his first time up, when he has runners in scoring position, he's a
different animal with guys on base compared to when guys are not on base. I don't know if the concentration level or what antenna goes up for Murphy, but he's been great this year.
He picked that off the ground somehow, but Morrison able to stay with it for out number 1. Swisher goes over to third with 1 out, and it will bring up Yan Gomes. Watch where this ball is at.
He hits pitches that you would never even think. That ball, look where the catcher was just going to the inside part. He slid his whole body over. Watch him slide and goes to backhand it in the dirt, and Murphy picks it up off the ground. Incredible.
All right. Chance to get on the board at the very least here. May not sound like much, but at least if the Indians can get a tally on the scoreboard, feel like they're within striking distance. Gomes flied to right, his only time up. And he's coming off a good road trip, swinging the bat. He's hit in 4 straight games. There's a line drive base hit to center field, and the Indians are on the board at 5-1. Their second hit in the inning. They only had 2 hits in the first 4 innings combined.
And Gomes wasn't going to spot him anything. He picked on a slider. This will go as our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Look at the slider down right into Gomes' wheelhouse. He loves it down there. Takes advantage of it. The Indians are on the board. It's their 4th hit. It's their first run. See if they can keep it going this inning.
Now Swisher got it started with the double. Now we'll see if Dickerson can keep it going. He had a base hit his first time up. He pulled a single through the right side of the infield.
Yeah, he got a break in that at bat. Had a pitch, a very close pitch. It looked good. That Larry Vanover called the ball, and the very next pitch he lined into right field. I'm going to send along our birthday wishes. Our own Steve Warren. His birthday is tonight, so Steve-O, happy birthday, my friend. And then a belated happy birthday to Jimmy Pulio, who is 86 in Euclid. And celebrating their 60th anniversary, Peggy and Claire Wagner, both Tribe fans. That is earlier, too. We didn't receive the mail until we got home from that long road trip.
Dickerson pulls it foul. 1-2 the count. Matt Quattro filling in at first base tonight, coaching duties with Sandy Alomar away from the team on a personal matter.
What the Indians could use is a long ball and get them right back into this game right now. Iwakuma has given up 12 homers on the year.
Iwakuma, you see, just over 60 pitches, 62 to be exact, 44 strikes. Dickerson lines it to left center field. Jones trying to cut it off. He will, but not before Gomes goes all the way to third. Dickerson in the second, save. Oh, what a hustling double for Chris Dickerson. I thought he was just going to hold, be content with the single, but he turned first, saw Jones kind of back on his heels, and decided to put his head down and go for two.
I like the aggressiveness. I really do, because they need a spark. They got to get it going. You can't go base at a time. They're a little two-seam fastball out over the plate. He stayed on that sinker nicely. Drives it into left center field. Dickerson's going to get his second double. That's his second hit. Now runners at second and third. Still just one out. You're getting back to the top of the lineup for the third time. And a base hit here. And we got ourselves a new ball game.
Jason Kipnis, the batter, 0 for 2 on the night. And he takes strike one. Down in the dirt, blocked by Zunino, the 1-1 now. Tribe finally on the board here in the fifth, but a chance to cash in for a couple more. One out. Kipnis trying to keep the heat on Iwakuma. Out of play. Well, we've seen some Indians, Rick, get good swings on two-strike pitches tonight.
Well, he's got that ball. He can cut inside. He can get the comeback fastball. Little two-seamer way, and the changeup right there. They'll get another run.
Scoring is Gomes. It's 5-2, and Dickerson goes to third. But now there are two down in the inning. For Kipnis, RBI number 34 on the year. All right, Asdrubal Cabrera 0 for 2 on the night will step in. Hey, Seattle got a big 2-out hit that kept their inning alive, and they added on big time. Maybe the Indians can use some of that same mojo here. Cabrera, so far this year, for whatever reason, has just been in an incredible slump in these situations. 3 out of 44 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Now, granted, 2-out RBI hits are the toughest to get.
Yeah, but normally not that tough.
You get it. You figure the odds are in your favor. You're going to get a few along the way. Takes low, 2-0. Now the 2-0. And a bouncing ball to second. Easy play for Cano, and the inning is over. Indians turn 3 hits into 2 runs. They're on the board. And after 5, it's the Mariners 5, the Indians 2. Five-2, the Mariners lead it as we go down to the 6th inning, and it's time for our AT&T fan photo of the game. Remember, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have yours shown during one of our telecasts. It's all courtesy of AT&T. And James Jones looks at a strike from Nick Hagedorn. In the air, it might be fair. Dickerson, no, out of play. Jones wasn't sure. He was kind of jockeying, then decided to take off, as a rookie should do.
Well, anytime there's question, drop the bat and go. They'll wait for you to come back and hit again.
Back out of play. Breaking ball bounced towards short. Cabrera racing in, fires off balance, and Santana held his foot on the bag. Vic Carapazza makes the call for out number 1.
Well, there's a ball he's going to hit. The 2-hopper. Cabrera's going to come and take it on the run to get rid of it. And Santana just does. That's the one thing about him playing first base. He's not that tall, and if that ball's a little bit elevated, it's tough for him to keep the foot on the base.
Down low. Rick, I mentioned before, Hagedorn has had success against the Seattle Mariners. This is his 6th appearance. He's given up 1 hit. And he has 8 strikeouts against the club he grew up rooting for. He lived 45 minutes south of Seattle, and he was a diehard Mariners fan growing up. Said he tried to hit like Ken Griffey Jr., tried to pitch like Randy Johnson. He loved Edgar Martinez.
What a team he had to watch growing up. Some great ball players there. Back in that time, we're battling the Indians in the 90s.
Yeah, he pitched in a crazy game for the Indians back in 2012 in Seattle.
There's a good curveball that he can throw for a strike. A lot of times he has a tough time throwing it for a strike. He throws it beautifully right there on our Wendy's slow motion replay.
It was early in the season in 2012. The Indians were down 8-1 to Kevin Millwood and the Mariners, and they came back to win at 9-8. And in that game, Hagedorn came out of the bullpen and got out of 1 inning and pitched a scoreless inning after that. That's hit well to left, but is it deep enough? Dickerson back, and he's got it on the track. The inning is over. Bottom of the 6th. We'll see if the Indians can keep the heat on. They got 2 on the board in the 5th off Iwakuma. Nick Hagedorn set him down 1-2-3. Gets his guys right back up to bat, which is what you want in this situation. Brantley, Santana, Chisenhall to bat, so the Indians have the meat of the order. Brantley walked in the 1st, and then in the 4th inning, he hit a ball to deep left field, but Dustin Ackley made a nice play on the ball. Running back, snared it on the warning track.
You know, this is Iwakuma's 3rd start against the Indians, and coming into this game, he's pitched 15 2/3 innings. They've hit him well, 16 hits in that time, but no wins, no losses. Gave up 7 runs, but he had walked 9 Indians.
Oh, a diving stop by Morrison, and he flips it to Iwakuma. Boy, Michael Brantley has just flat out had some tough luck lately.
Yeah, recently, you're right, he has.
Another hard hit ball here, but Morrison able to keep it in front of him and makes a good flip.
That's why they call it the big leagues. And when we watched Michael on the road trip, how many times was he robbed of base hits? That's why anytime you can get one, you take it when you're a hitter.
Yeah, the old broken bat flare, the bleeder, or the 14 hopper that gets through the infield, doesn't matter, right?
They say, okay, it evens out. And at least Brantley, he's around the 318 mark, 317 as a hitter. It's better than when you're hitting 250 because then they start taking those hits. You say, hey, wait a minute, I need those.
I know, they don't even out.
No, they don't. You ask any hitter, they'll be the first to tell you.
Santana had one to hit and fouled it back. 74th pitch of the night for Iwakuma. 51 strikes.
Yeah, not surprising. It's surprising we've seen him walk somebody in this game. That's what it is. Well, and it's not going to get any easier tomorrow.
No. Felix Hernandez will get the start for the Mariners tomorrow night, and he's been outstanding.
Well, his ERA is under 2.
Yeah, he has an American League record with 13 consecutive starts or 7 or more innings pitched and 2 or less runs allowed.
He's been on some kind of roll.
Iwakuma now trying to put away Santana as Felix Hernandez looks a little sleepy, doesn't he?
I was going to say, it looks like he's sleeping to me. Well, he's getting used to the East Coast time.
Yeah. Look at that, 11-2, a .199 ERA, 29 walks, almost 200 strikeouts. Wow.
This guy's been around forever, and he's still only, 27, 28 years old.
Santana with a 2-2 count. Bullseye inning over. That's out number 2. 5th strikeout for Iwakuma.
We'll celebrate Slider's birthday. That'll be here on Sunday. Closing out that series with the Rangers. All the Sliders mascot friends will be in town. And for you kids, you can run the bases after the game. You can visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Lonnie Chisenhall bounced to first in the 1st, struck out in the 4th. And now Chisenhall in the hole, 0-2. The Indians' longest active home win streak against any American League opponent is against these Mariners with the 6 straight wins. But that's in jeopardy here tonight.
Now, so far tonight, Lonnie has seen 8 pitches, 8 strikes. Give me a fastball up. Zunino wants. Zunino gets the fastball up. It must be fun to catch a guy like this when you give him a sign, you give him a target, and he hits it.
Yeah.
You don't have to move around. You can sit. It's like sitting in a rocking chair back there. It's got to be fun because how many times do they go through seeing guys you throwing splitters or balls in the dirt that they got to block?
Or like sitting on a folding chair. Deep left. Another catch by Ackley. 1, 2, 3. Go the Indians.
On Saturday, and when Jim Thome's statue is revealed in center field, that'll all take place, and the fans will get a replica statue that'll be courtesy of KeyBank. So looking forward to that on Saturday night, 7:05 start. I believe the gates are going to be opened at 4:30. The ceremony will start at 5. Go to Indians.com and get your tickets.
Robinson Cano will lead off the 7th for Seattle. Intentionally walked his last time up. Hagedon has got an inning and 2/3 scoreless, and that breaking ball almost netted the 3rd Mariner hit batter of the night. Nick's only made 17 pitches, which is why I think Terry Francona was comfortable sending it back out here in the 7th, and you've got 2 left-handed hitters and a switch hitter due up. Slowly chopped. Kipnis, bare hand grab and throw, and he retires Cano for out number 1. Nice play by Jason Kipnis. Once it gets by Hagedon, it's Kipnis or bust, and I think that's why he goes to the bare hand.
But he had time. He really did, because Cano got a bad jump out of the batter's box, so he could take his time. He didn't have to rush.
I think because it jammed him so much.
Jammed him, exactly. He got deep in his kitchen. So he really didn't have to rush that bare hand, but it's still not an easy play when you have to bare hand it. But he had a little more time than normal.
Kendry Morales 0 for 3 on the night. Breaking ball. Boy, he's had a good breaking ball tonight, and you wish he could bring that with him every time out.
Throw it for strikes. That's the key. If he could throw his breaking ball for strikes, it gives him another pitch, because right now what he turns into is a one-pitch pitcher. You know, the fastball. And his fastball is straight, and it's all about location. But when you can throw that breaking ball for a strike.
Just one more thing to make the hitter be aware of.
Well, I mean, if you could throw 2, you're coming out of the bullpen, you throw 2 pitches for strikes, now you've got it. He's got a good arm. But when you can only throw one and you get ahead of hitters and you can't put them away with anything else. See, he's having a tough time commanding this fastball today. He's got better control with his breaking ball. Normally it's the other way around. He is in his third inning of relief, though. I got to see what the longest he's pitched this year. This has got to be it.
Oh, it has to be. In the big leagues, anyway. Popped him up foul and out of play.
Let me see if I get our notes right, because every page is upside down today. They tried something new after we got on the road. I don't know.
I think Court put the notes together in the dark today.
Yes.
He stapled them together in the dark.
Yeah. Well, I could see maybe one pack, but every pack?
He did.
I'm going to guess and say Court didn't do this.
Now the 2-2. Back out of play.
His longest career outing is 2 innings, and that's 5 times he's done that. Well, he's gone
2 innings.
2 innings as we speak, so one more out will be a new career high for him.
Swung out and missed. He challenged him with a high heater, and Morales was no match. 2 away.
Strikeouts. Well, I'll tell you what, nobody's going to hit this. This one is eye high. And Morales comes up empty. He's a little upset, but that's the second time he's gone down tonight. 3 strikeouts for Hagedorn.
Kyle Seager will be the batter now. You know, it's funny, Rick, you were talking about Hagedorn, and some nights he has the breaking ball, some nights he doesn't. Talking to Justin Masterson a little bit earlier tonight as he gets ready for his start coming back. He said to me, sometimes I wish I wasn't 6'4". Because there's so many moving parts to a delivery. But
mechanically.
But as big as Hagedorn is, his delivery's pretty compact. There aren't a lot of moving parts, but
he
still.
Gets wild when he comes down. After he's getting ready to stretch and throw the baseball, it's very, erratic. He's not consistent with it. And it looks like he may be every pitch going out there trying to be consistent. But watch how he can just really opens up and flies that front shoulder out, and it comes down, and he's a little wild.
Well, here tonight, he's been very effective.
He sure
27
has.
pitches, 19 of those have been strikes.
He's been exactly what you need when Bauer gave up the 5 runs.
Longest outing of his big league career. He's 3-1 to Seager. Carrasco ready. Zunino right-handed hitter on deck. So this might be the last hitter for
let's
Hagedorn.
hope he comes back and gets this guy out. Don't walk anybody. Just have a nice, clean 2 2/3 innings.
In the air, left field. Back is Dickerson. That ball's carrying. It's over his head. Hits off the wall, and it hit off his foot and kicks all the way over into the corner. Into third base and holding there will be Seager with a 2-out triple that was just beyond the reach.
He drifted on that ball
Dickerson.
a little bit, and that's why he didn't catch it. I mean, he hit it well, and that ball had some carry to it. But if you watch Dickerson going back, I think he was afraid to take his eye off it because it was slicing. And the way he turned on that baseball, he couldn't turn back around. See, he couldn't go the other way, and that ball started slicing back toward the line. So it was just a tough play with the way he broke. That ball had some movement to it. But Hagedorn's going to give up his first hit. Unfortunately, it's with 2 outs, and he went a career high. So what are you going to do? Seager, the hot hitter, got him.
Nice effort by Nick Hagedorn. He departs with 2 outs. Runner at third, and Carlos Carrasco coming on when we come back. Fox Sports Supports is proud to collaborate with Stand Up to Cancer, a groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research that gets new therapies to patients quickly in order to save lives now. For more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. Carlos Carrasco, he's done a terrific job since he made the move to come out of the bullpen. He'll be facing Mike Zunino, who is locked in red hot tonight. He doubled in the second, hit by pitch, scored in the fourth, and then homered to left in the fifth. The two balls that he has hit, he has hammered both of them. Swing and a miss at a good slider down and away. Assuming that's Yan Gomes in that situation, saying this guy's sitting dead red all night. Let's start him off with a slider. And
well, you're looking at the two catchers right there, the one catching and the one hitting, that have the most home runs as catchers in the league. Zunino leads the way, and right behind him is Yan Gomes. There you'll see it. Zunino now with 16. Gomes not far behind. And then Salvatore Perez with Kansas City. The Indians have more home runs in the month of July than anybody. And right behind them is the Houston Astros.
Their numbers are pretty similar, too. You know, Zunino with 38 ribbies. Gomes has 43. Zunino has 16 doubles. And Yan Gomes has 17 doubles. The big difference is batting average, where Gomes has done much better on the course of the season. Carrasco gets the strikeout and the inning is over. We've reached the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. Five-2, Mariners lead it, bottom of the 7th inning, and you get a look in at Progressive Field from our Panini's Overstuffed Cam. Endy Chavez takes over in right field for Seattle as we go to the home half of the 7th. Swisher, Murphy, and Gomes for the Indians. Swisher has led off all 3 times he has batted tonight. Struck out in the 2nd, doubled and scored in the 5th, and now here in the 7th. Twice tonight, the Indians' 3, 4, and 5 hitters have been retired 1, 2, 3 in the 4th and in the 6th. And Iwakuma, the only time the Indians got to him came when Swisher led off the 5th with that double. They had 3 hits in the inning and scratched out a pair of runs. Seattle getting their bullpen busy, even though Iwakuma's only had 84 pitches.
Well, when you have their bullpen and you can match up like they can, you go to it. Like I said, it turns into a 6-inning ball game against the Mariners.
And you have to think, too, in the back of Lloyd McClendon's mind, A, this is a game he really wants to win because they've lost 8 out of their last 11. And
right.
B, he's got Felix Hernandez going tomorrow, and he probably figures he can count on a lot of innings.
Yeah, for the last 13 games, he's gone at least 7 and given up less than 2. So I think you can pretty much book it.
Upstairs, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, that's the first game of a trip for them, for Seattle. So you're right. That's they go from here, and then they go to Baltimore before they head back home. And Baltimore over the weekend.
And Iwakuma himself's on a pretty good run. He's got 4 straight starts of at least 7 innings.
Then we gave you the number about road starts.
Yeah.
His last 13 coming in today. Let's make it 14.
Here's the payoff pitch.
Well, you got to say it, then it turns it around. If you don't say it and keep it to yourself.
Kyle Crockett getting loose. Left-hander for the Indians. 13 consecutive road starts for Iwakuma without a loss. There, I said it.
Yeah, okay.
There have been some no decisions in there.
5 of them.
Which you'd be happy with one of those right now if you're Cleveland.
Absolutely. Yeah, sitting where we're sitting right now here in the bottom half of the 7th. They're down to 9 outs, so.
And the payoff pitch now to Swisher. Hit pretty well to center. Back goes Jones, away back, on the track, at the wall. He makes the catch. Drops to the dirt, but he hangs on. A fine running catch in deep center field for James Jones with a mouthful of sunflower seeds. Nothing was going to deter him.
Well, that's too bad because Swisher hit this ball right on the nose and just runs out of room. That's 400 feet away. And he gets back up and he jumps, times his jump perfectly, hitting the heel of the glove, but he's able to hold it. He had one more step, and that's what happened. If that wall would have been just a hair closer, it might have been a different story. But it goes as out number 1.
I might have swallowed half of those sunflower seeds.
Either that or spit them all out.
David Murphy 0 for 2. Looks at a ball outside. Two-0 pitch. And Murphy socks one high in the air. Deep right field. Chavez back. He's out of room. It's off the top of the wall. It didn't get out of here.
Kidding me? As high as that was, that thing didn't get out?
I don't know. Terry Francona's out of the dugout. He may go ask him to take another look. The umpire was Vic Carapazza, who made the call. It looked like it hit right on the top of the wall, but it carried back towards the infield, so maybe it did hit below the yellow line. We'll go take
as high as it was, and Chavez was back there. He just inserted into the game. You figure, look, he's back and jumps. Ooh, I don't know. That might be a homer.
That's a home run.
I think so. I think it hit the cement. It's over the yellow line.
Let's take another look.
That was
this will give us a perfect look right here.
He's got it covered. Oh, yeah,
he hides it from us, though.
Yeah, it does. You don't see it hit the yellow line. I think that's a home run. That was too high to hit the yellow line. It had to hit over there, didn't it?
That's what I'm thinking, Rick. I thought it hit right on it, maybe, and that's why we had the kick. But that first look we had, at least initially, it appeared that it hit over the line.
I think he's going to be given a home run because they're showing a shot now that the fans sort of like. I don't know if we had that angle or not.
That looked like it was from maybe left field.
Yeah, the one that his glove's not blocking our view. We'll see if David Murphy's going to get home run number 7 or he's going to remain at second base.
That ball took a weird carom. It didn't come straight back. It kicked toward center field. Look how it goes.
That's got to be a home run. I don't think that. I haven't seen a ball hit like that off the top of that wall and it goes left or right, whatever angle you want to call it.
I don't know. I just don't know if there's a definitive look.
They don't know either. That's why they're still on that headset.
Well, here we go. Larry Vanover about to make a big call.
Give it to him. Double.
Nope.
Okay, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it.
Wow. You can't come any closer to hitting a home run than David Murphy just did. The replay officially is confirming the call in the field. So he's saying that they were dead on right.
Well, his glove blocked it out, and that
they might have had a different replay angle that we didn't have. I don't know.
Well, that's all right. He's on second base, so that's another run out there that they could use.
Yan Gomes singled in a run and scored his last time up. That was on a slider. This time he gets a fastball and drills it to center, but it's right in the tracks of James Jones, 2 down. Time now for a Mazda game break. Back to the studios. Here's Al Pulaski.
All right, Matt, let's take a look at a game in the American League East. It's the Baltimore Orioles hosting the Angels. They were down 4-3 here in the bottom of the 4th. A 3-run homer for Nick Markakis gave Baltimore a 6-4 lead. The Angels have just tied it 6-all, 6th inning. Matt?
Chris Dickerson is 2 for 2 on the night. He singled to right field in the 3rd, and then he doubled to left center in the 5th inning. Looking for a 2-out hit here to get the Indians a run closer. Oh, that was a pretty wicked pitch.
Two-seam fastball.
Just disappeared, too, didn't it?
Yes.
And a foul ball over to the Mariner dugout. 0-2 the count on Dickerson as Iwakuma closes in on now the 100 pitch mark. In the dirt, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Mentioned earlier the Tigers had an early 2-0 lead on Detroit, but boy, the White Sox have just pounded them since then, huh?
Yeah.
9-2, Chicago in the 7th. Wow. There's the 1-2. And that's fouled right into the mask of Zunino. And it caroms back. Minnesota out in front of KC, 1-0 there in the fourth at Kauffman Stadium. Rumor mill cranking up. All sorts of teams looking for help as we approach the trading deadline.
Yeah, less than 2 days to go now. What's it, Thursday at 4?
I believe that is correct, yeah. Dickerson down swinging. So David Murphy comes as close to hitting a home run as you can, but he doesn't. Ends up with a double and stranded at second. Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Iwakuma getting handshakes. Looks like his night is over. He did a terrific job for Seattle. And for the Indians now, they're going to go back to their bullpen. Kyle Crockett will come on after Carlos Carrasco retired, the only batter he faced in the seventh. Crockett's 21st appearance. This young left-hander's done a nice job. He's got the bottom third of the Mariners' order. Quickest guy to make it from the draft, and hey, for a young guy, he's held his own.
Well, he certainly has, and he's made adjustments. That's the one thing that Terry Francona likes about him. Being such a young kid, you tell him once, and he happens to remember and just applies what he hears.
I think the next big step for Crockett, and I'm sure this is true for all left-handed relievers, coming up with something to keep the right-handed hitters honest, because they've had some success against them.
Yes. Well, how many right-handers are you going to see? They may be able to use him in situations just to face lefties. As a matchup guy. But if he ever does come, and then he could be an inning or two-inning guy if you get right-handers out. But you would think right-handers can pick him up so much better because that arm comes out. It's a long arm when he comes out. The left-handers, it's a tough time to pick up, but I think right-handers get a chance to see it that much more. You can see the lefties are having problems.
Defensive swing there. Almost hit him.
Because Crockett's not a 94, 95. He doesn't throw it like Hagedorn. But he hides it a little bit more. And look at that ball runs in, and he just checks his swing, and he's lucky to get out of the way of it.
Now popped up and down the line and foul. Well, Kyle Crockett got called up and made his major league debut on May 16th. Now, in that game, His major league debut, he pitched an inning and a third and gave up a run. Since getting called back on June the 13th, he's pitched in 17 games and he's given up 2 earned runs in 17 games. So we talked about making the adjustment and telling a guy once, telling him something once and not having to tell him a second time. He's proof's in the pudding. Down low, 1-2. Now, at the same time, you know, he's not an overpowering. We're not talking about Norm Charlton of the Nasty Boys in the late 80s. But
it's called getting outs, and that's your job. I don't care how hard you throw or what kind of pitches you throw. Get hitters out.
Deep right center. Brantley can't quite get to it.
Ground rule double.
A ground rule double. I hope Brantley's all right. He is fine. He gets up quickly. He was on a dead sprint trying to run that down.
Sometimes you just can never run it down. That's a 5th double for the Mariners tonight, and this ball is gapped. He left him one right down the middle. A fastball that Morrison got a good piece of. And look at Brantley on the dead sprint. He's going to try and brace himself. Hits the chain link fence. That ball bounces into the bullpen. So another hit. That's 10 hits for Seattle. 5 doubles, a triple, and a homer for them on the night.
Looking for a bunt here from the pinch hitter, Endy, or not the pinch hitter, but Endy Chavez, who came on for Corey Hart defensively. This time not showing bunt. It's low and outside, 2-0. Strike on the outside edge. Line towards first, caught by Santana. And a throw to third. Double play.
Well, he got the lead runner, which is great. He came right up on that bouncer.
I didn't see it hit the ground. I thought he hit it on a line drive.
No,
he did catch it.
Yeah, he bounced it. He's just trying to move the runner, but Santana playing in. You see he's got him fooled. And he's going to go over and throw the ball to third, and they get the lead runner because you think, okay, I'm going to hit it to the right side. He's going to get over there. But no, it's a nice play by Santana. Santana's been fine over there at first base.
Terrific.
He really has. And I'll tell you what, he's hit his way into staying there at first base. In the 43 games he's played over there, this being number 44, 338 average, 15 homers, and 33 ribbies. I know he's gotten hot, but he's at one spot. He's going to stay there.
I think that's why Lonnie Chisenhall's defense has settled down, too.
I agree.
Playing every day.
Yep.
You take your lumps. You're going to make the mistakes, but I thought I was seeing things. I thought I was looking at that, and I thought he just kind of like what we saw earlier when Logan Morrison got jammed and just kind of flared one to second base. I thought that's what Chavez did. I didn't realize it bounced.
Bounced out in front of the plate.
And a foul. That hit Jones in the box.
That's exactly what Larry Vanover is saying. It did. It got him before he even moved his front foot. So that is a foul ball. Now, if the hitter should be out of the batter's box and that ball hits you, you are going to be called out, automatically out. Ball hits you out of the box.
Called a strike on the outside corner. Jones, he doesn't like it.
Well, I can see why. That ball looked like it had some run to it, maybe been off the plate. Yeah, got to swing at that.
2 down.
He could have bet the house on what he was going to call on that pitch.
In-game box score brought to you by Hyundai. Well, the Mariners they had one big inning tonight.
Yeah, it was the 4th inning. They had a big inning, is right.
3 doubles, scored 4 times.
And then they added on once the next inning. So, you know, that's a lot of runs for this team the way they've been going. But 13 times out of their last 22 or less.
Bounced in there, blocked well by Gomes. Well, these two teams are very similar in that stat too, Rick. And you wouldn't think they're similar teams the way they're built. I mean, the Indians don't have a Felix Hernandez, although Corey Kluber is on his way to maybe reaching that kind of level. But you know, when Seattle scores 4 or more, they're 38-10. Indians are 43-15. So when they get to that level of offense, they feel like they've got the pitching to get them a victory.
Yeah, and 5 runs now. They're 34-4. So it's a lot down there. I mean, but they don't get it that often. And I think with Seattle, you try and get a lead on them early, and if you take away a big inning, and that's true with any offense, and you make them work for it every time, where you're going to give up your runs, make them solo runs or 1 run an inning.
The pitch, check to swing, and it's fouled back. Well, the good news for the Indians is that from the 7th inning on, they've outscored their opponents by 35 runs this year. Just up to Crockett to keep it right here. 2-2 pitch, hit on the ground, and it's in the hole, a base hit. So 2 aboard, 2 out, and the rookie Chris Taylor coming to the plate. As Terry Francona heads to the mound, we'll head out to the on-site studio where Al Pawlowski has another Mazda game break.
Hey, Matt, in Detroit in the top half of the 7th inning, the White Sox have blown open a 2-2 game. Here, Alexei Ramirez cleans off the bases with this double. Jose Abreu then would hit a home run, his 31st of the year to lead the majors, and it's 9-2 Chicago, man.
All right, thanks, Al. Appreciate the update. John Axford coming on for the Indians when we come back. The new pitcher is John Axford. He'll be facing Chris Taylor with 2 outs here in the 8th inning, and the Tribe down 5-2. They can ill afford to allow Seattle anymore.
That's true. 3's enough to try and come back from Axford on for the 46th time this year.
Hey, Rick, let's go back and take a look at the definitive replay that they used in New York to keep David Murphy's double a double and not a home run. You can see it dent the yellow line.
Okay, now that's a better angle. I didn't see that angle before. Now I can see why they called it a double.
I mean, you can't come any closer. It's literally an inch from being a home run.
Yeah, our angle, his glove blocked it out, but you can see it does hit the yellow
Just
line.
right at the top.
Goodness, how close is that? And what's to stop that from not bouncing, into the seats?
That's it, man. I mean, you got to hit it right there. Otherwise, it's over.
About a fraction.
That's the only thing that I thought. Well, see, because our initial replay angle, it looked like that was over the line. But then the more I thought about it, I've been out there. There's no little gap there between the line and the wall. So I'm thinking, wait a minute. If it kicked back on the field, it
had to hit the top.
It had to hit the top of the wall. Axford delivers, and Taylor takes a breaking ball for a strike. To right field, Murphy's got a beat on it. Routine play. Inning over. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Tribe down 5-2. Coming up after the ball game, it's Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Hisashi Iwakuma allowed just 2 runs on 6 hits tonight. He walked a batter, which is news because he hadn't done that in 36 plus innings before tonight. He struck out 6, but he only gave up 1 inning which the Indians scored. So he was able to cruise through most of the game. He had 3 1-2-3 innings. He had a double play in the 3rd, so he only had to face 3 hitters in that inning. But he was an inch away from giving up another run. David Murphy, we showed you the replay angle, just missed by an inch.
And the left-hander, Charlie Furbush, comes on, who leads their team in appearances now with 44.
Top of the order for the Tribe here in the 8th. This is where the Indians have been very good this year in the late innings. But can they do it against a very good late inning Seattle bullpen? It's a bullpen that features the bow and arrow shooting Fernando Rodney in the 9th inning. He leads the American League in saves. But first things first, in the 8th. Kipnis picked up an RBI, his 34th of the year, with a ground out in the 5th.
Yeah, when you look at that bullpen from Seattle, first in ERA, first in home runs allowed, they've only allowed 19. 31 saves, 3rd. Opposition, they don't give up. They're stingy group.
And a strikeout to start the 8th.
You come back and you see this good breaking ball. It starts in the zone. It's got good tilt to it. And Furbush, you get Kipnis to swing at a tough pitch to lay off because it is moving. So he comes in and gets the first out. It'll be a strikeout.
Here's one that's a little tough to figure. Goes along with the theme we were just talking about, pitching. Seattle and Oakland have the best 2 ERAs against the Central Division this year. Seattle's 2.86, so they're right on pace. Drilled deep left field down the line. It's at fair. No, off the top of the wall. Cabrera has to hold with a long single. Oh, man, he just missed hitting one out of here. And instead of a double, Cabrera held to a long single because it caromed to Ackley, and he just turned and fired it right in. He made a good play.
Yeah, it was right down the line. That's almost like a Fenway Park play. You know, Cabrera thought he had enough, but it just wasn't. It was down the line as much as you could hit it there.
Wow.
It ends up short. So the Indians, they're just an inch short and now about a foot short.
3 times tonight. Now Swisher came around to score, but his double back in the 5th was high off the wall in left field. Well, they've got a base runner now, and Michael Brantley at the plate. What I was going to say, though, is Seattle has a 2.86 ERA against the Central. This year, that's the best of any one team against the division. Oakland's right behind them at 3.12, and yet Seattle against the Central Division, 12-11. Oakland, 11-8.
Wow.
You'd think they'd be a lot better than that even.
Well, the Indians dominated the Western Division last year, and they're having a tough time this year. They're only 8-11. So
And yet they started out so well, winning 2 out of 3 to start the season in Oakland.
Right.
Well, Brantley's in a tough spot. He's down 0-2. And he strikes him out. 2 away. 2 strikeouts for Charlie Furbush, both against the left-handed hitters. The right-handed hitter, Cabrera, almost took him deep. And so with that, Lloyd McClendon says, let's turn Santana around. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, the way he's been swinging it from the left side lately. But McClendon opts for that decision here in the 8th with the Indians down 3. Tonight on Training Camp Daily, Jim Donovan, Tony Grossi, and Nathan Zagura. Jim goes one-on-one with safety Tayshaun Gibson. Can number 1 pick Justin Gilbert emerge as the starting cornerback? Get complete coverage of all today's action from Berea on Training Camp Daily following Indians Live. 2 down, runner at first. Carlos Santana, the batter, and Yoervis Medina, the pitcher. Now, the reason Lloyd McClendon chose to turn Santana around has nothing to do with the fact that he wanted Santana to bat left-handed. It had to do with the fact that Santana against Charlie Furbush was 4 for 7 with a home run. So he just didn't want Santana, who's had good success against him, to face him.
I beg your pardon?
Wanted to see if everybody was still awake.
Yeah, we're awake. I had to apologize a couple days ago.
Santana drives one. High and deep to left center field. Back is Ackley on the track. Makes the catch. Santana gave it a ride, but came up just short. And the Mariners survive the 8th. They still lead it 5-2. 5-2 in favor of the Mariners. And a reminder to stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. And up to the plate steps Robinson Cano here in the ninth. John Axford got the last out of the eighth. He'll stay on to pitch here in the ninth with Cano, Morales, and Seager due up. Bullpen for the Tribe is quiet. And I would imagine Fernando Rodney is getting loose for Seattle.
Yeah, you would think so.
There he
is. How can you tell it's him? I don't know.
That hat cocked sideways. I mean, it is really cranked sideways.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Is there anybody that you know that likes it, that you've ever talked to?
No.
Okay, that's my question. I think the only one that thinks it looks good is him.
Okay, here's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it because I know there are some people who look at it and say it's disrespectful to wear your hat that way. So it's like, okay, let's put that aside for a second. Remember when Cordero? Remember when Chad Cordero with the flat? He had the flat boot. It was one of the first guys I remember that had it. Really flat brim hat. And people were like, what is this? What is he trying to do? Okay, so is it just simply a generational gap where it's like, hey, that's young kids. When you were a young kid and you wore your hair long, how many people say, what are you trying to do there with that long hair, you? You know what I'm saying? Is it just is it that generational gap?
You don't see anybody else wearing it like that. I mean, there may have been one or two other tilts, like not cocked like that. It looks like your head's on crooked.
CeCe's hat was slightly askew, but not to that extent.
Right. This is one of the only guys that you see at that extreme. Now, I don't know. I can't answer that. When you have success and you go out there and you close games, and he's had his ups and downs in the big leagues and through his career, because anybody could have had him as a closer, I guess you certainly take it.
Ooh, close pitch. He didn't go. Full count.
But there's a lot they get away with now compared to what you used to be able to do with your hat and the antics and things like that. There's just certain
things you do and certain things you don't do. And that's an old guard baseball way. 3-2 pitch. Fouled out of play. I remember being in fantasy camp. Yeah, I was in fantasy camp with you one year. And I was just on the field with my hat turned around backwards. Yeah. And I got fined in Kangaroo Court. You don't wear your hat backwards. Ken Griffey Jr. wore his hat backwards, but only because he was Ken Griffey Jr. could he get away with it.
Couldn't find him.
I'm not talking about in the field of play, but during BP.
And joking around, right.
But other guys couldn't do that. He got away with it because he was a tremendously talented player, and they say, well, that's him. Joe Bag of Donuts tried to wear his hat backwards, and they'd have fined him and hog-tied him.
How many little kids did you see wear it backwards?
Because of him.
Because of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's one guy that could do it and get away with it. You, fantasy camp, give me some money.
Rick, how many guys, probably your age, started catching fly balls in the outfield with one hand because of Willie Mays?
Well, I've never seen many catch basket style. How about the way he used to catch them that way? I think the way the glove is developed, too, is a reason why a lot of guys can catch it one-handed now, because the gloves are so soft, they break in easier, and
But there was a time where you just dared it. Yeah, you didn't dare try that, though.
No, you get into good habits, and you catch it basically with two hands. It's different.
Good breaking ball by Axford, gets ahead of Morales, 0-2. Swung on and missed. Boy, Morales.
He's been overmatched.
He has struck out 3 times tonight. He's 0 for 5. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Nick Hagedorn with a career-high 2 1/3 innings out of the bullpen tonight. He allowed just 1 hit, struck out 3. And a fine job against his hometown team, essentially. Grew up just south of Seattle, and that was the ball club that he rooted for as a youngster. And he's always pitched well against them. Axford with a low heater right past Kyle Seager, who has singled with a bunt with the shift on. So he beat the shift in the fourth with that bunt single to lead off, and that started their 4-run fourth. And then he tripled back in the 7th inning with 2 outs.
Yeah, you talk about that shift, and now they're going to go back with 2 strikes and play it.
Roberto Perez has already got his hat sideways. He's already.
Well, look, they're joking about it there, too.
He's already waiting for Fernando Rodney. Maybe he's talking to a friend over in the Mariners dugout. Now the 0-2 pitch from Axford. Well, that's the other thing with Fernando Rodney, is it's not just the hat, but the antics with the bow and arrow have got him.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that incident with the Angels where he went to the bow and arrow in the 8th inning. He got the last out of the 8th inning.
Right. That happened about, 10 days ago or so?
And then Seattle got him in the 9th.
No, the Angels got him, and you mean, yes.
What did I say?
The Seattle got him, but the Angels did.
Yes. Kipnis throws out Seager to end the inning. Bottom of the 9th. Last chance for the Tribe. Coming up next. Recapping our wayside keys to the game. Trevor Bauer set the tone. Well, he got banged around. I mean, no getting around it. The Mariners took it to him with a 4-run fourth, jumped out to the lead. They've held on to that point, and the Indians have not been able to maximize their opportunities. They did get 2 in the 5th. And now they need 3 just to tie here in the 9th, and they'll have to try against Fernando Rodney, who has a league-leading 28 saves coming into tonight's appearance. He has 3 blown on the year, and he has 4 losses in his 43 appearances.
Well, sometimes he can have command issues. He's got an excellent fastball. You can see the career against Rodney. Chisenhall up first. He's 1 for 1. Swisher 4 for 11. And Murphy 3 for 7. So pretty good numbers. But Rodney, when he's on and he's throwing strikes, he's unhittable. He's got a fastball changeup. You guess, 50-50. And if he's behind people and walking, sometimes he has a fastball and no changeup, or he can't command the fastball, and he's got a good changeup. So we'll see what Fernando Rodney shows up, but this guy can be tough as a hitter.
Lonnie Chisenhall 0 for 3 on the night to lead it off for Cleveland here in the ninth. He called that a strike. Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's the one thing you don't want to do is give this guy any leeway. Was that another high strike?
High, yes. Chisenhall pops it up. Right field. In comes Chavez. He'll make the catch. One away. That'll bring up Nick Swisher. 1 for 3. Doubled and scored in the 5th. And then he drove one to deep center back in the 7th inning that James Jones ran down and caught right at the base of the wall, and a leap in the process. And Swisher takes a strike. Down low. Oh, good pitch by Rodney.
81-mile-an-hour changeup right there with good movement going down and away. Watch this. That's 81. I mean, with the same arm speed, good movement going away. And when he throws the fastball, that's about 94 to 96.
There's the heater, but it's off the mark, 2-2.
See, that's the pitch sometimes he has a tough time controlling. But that changeup is usually really good for him.
I think it's interesting, too, the way Rodney pitches. That front leg, when he lifts it, he barely lifts at all. You think of guys who will lift that front leg and drive towards home plate. His front foot looks like it never gets more than maybe 3-4 inches off the ground. But he's still able to push off his back leg. Up the middle, Swisher's aboard. He has his second hit of the night. And now the Indians need another base runner to get the tying run to the plate. That front leg barely off the ground at all.
No kidding. He barely picks that foot up, but Swisher gets his second hit, and he keeps it going. He got a ball down in the zone to his liking. 8 hits now, and need one more guy to reach to get that tying run to the plate.
Now here's David Murphy. He of the tough luck here tonight. Hit one literally off the top of the wall in right field. It went for a double. Literally an inch from a home run. Murphy and then Yan Gomes for the Tribe here in the ninth. Fastball fouled right back. This was the long and high fly ball. It was originally ruled a double. Terry Francona asked for a second look, and replay confirmed it did not clear, but hit right off the top of that wall on the yellow line. And Murphy was unable to get home. That was with one out in the 7th. Murphy slaps it out of play. And remember, that was right after Swisher had almost hit a home run. So the Indians came very close to back-to-back homers in that 7th inning. There's not a whisper of a breeze here tonight. If there was any kind of wind blowing out tonight, even a gentle breeze blowing out, Tribe might have a couple of home runs on their side of the ledger. 1-2 the count. Outside, he missed. Oh, looked like a flinch. It sure did.
I thought I saw a flinch. It was close. Let's see if Larry Vanover, it looks like he started up to make a call. No, that was.
Yeah, he sure did.
Maybe just had a cramp.
And he's getting yelled at from the Seattle dugout because they saw it.
That was outside, though.
Oh, it certainly was. But all the Mariners guys saw was him flinch. You know, from the dugout, you can't tell in or out.
Right.
But they saw the flinch, and I think they were hooting on him pretty good. I'm sure Rick Waits had nothing to do with it. He wouldn't yell at an umpire. Seattle pitching coach, former teammate of yours.
Right. At this part of the game, you want everything close.
Down low, full count. Wow, what an at-bat for Murphy, especially if he can work a walk here, get a hit. Oh, instead he chases ball 4. And a strikeout for Rodney, 2 down.
Well, there's that pitch, and he helped him out. That ball away, he stayed away and couldn't keep the patience there. Tried to put it in play and comes up empty right there for out number 2.
Boy, he's such a great bad ball hitter, and yet he had good patience in the at-bat.
And didn't have it on that one pitch, right, where he would have been able to reach.
All right, so now it's up to Yan Gomes to try and keep the inning alive for the Indians. Look at Yan Gomes. He's like, whoa. Quick strike. One ball, one strike with a runner at first, 2 down in the 9th. Rodney ahead now, 1-2. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out, and the game is over. The Mariners win it 5-2 to take the opener in the series. They go to 55 and 51. The Indians drop to 52 and 54. And the Indians have now lost for the 6th time. They'll make that 7th time. 7th time in their last 10 ball games. Winning pitcher Hisashi Iwakuni goes to 9 and 5. Trevor Bauer the loss. He falls to 4 and 6. And it's time now for our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, let's go back to that 4th inning. And you're going to see a double hit, and it's going to drive in a pair. Ackley goes out, gets it, and just misses a home run. We had a few of those today, and that was a big 2-out hit. That continued it. That made it 4-0. That was the big inning for Seattle, and you can see Bauer. He had his issues in that inning. So there's our KeyBank key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
All right, Rick. Well, the Indians, it's actually worse than I thought. They've lost 7 out of 9. And now they got their work cut out for them with Felix Hernandez on the hill tomorrow. Not to mention that when they lose game 1 of a series, the Indians have won 4, lost 12, tied 3 series on the season. So,
okay,
big test ahead come tomorrow. We've got Indians Live presented by Conrad's coming up next.